Everyone, I wanted to send out a special thanks to Brand Innovators for hosting this really great event. I'm thrilled to be moderating this panel with the team that manages the NFL brand. My name is Christina Park. I head up the entertainment vertical here at Samba TV. Before we dive into things, I wanted to provide a couple quick insights around Samba and why we're moderating this discussion today. So Samba TV is the pioneer of ACR television data, which stands for Automatic Content Recognition. Our technology sits within the glass of 24 different television manufacturers globally. It allows us to see everything from linear to live streaming sporting consumption and even ad exposure, and gives us a really comprehensive look into what people are watching and how they're watching it. Our goal at Samba TV is to democratize television data, allowing marketers like yourself to use the data where you want and how you want, whether that's for things like tune-in, attribution, and measurement, or TV audience segments that can be activated across any publisher or platform of choice. All right, let's kick things off with some intros from our panelists and a little bit more about their roles at the NFL. So Javier, I'll start with you.
I'm Javier Farfan. I'm a cultural strategist, and my focus is really about going after that future fan. I'm here representing not just the Latino fan that I'm focused on, but also growth audiences. And my department's here, so I'm going to give a shout out to Elise and Claire from the NFL, and really kind of talking about going after that future fan.
Justin Anderson, I oversee our player social program, so that includes helmets off storytelling. I know Tim just talked a lot about that. That includes our creator network. I sit on the larger culture team, and we partner with a lot of creators across TikTok and so forth to really up level more storytelling in a unique way.
Yeah, hi everyone, Jackie Finn. I sit on the Global Brand and Consumer Marketing team. My focus is on our technical marketing, so Super Bowl draft, Pro Bowl, all of the above. And although we focus on our core audience, we're always really looking to move our casual fans to more avid fans. So it's always an opportunity at all of these events, including the big one that we're at right now. So excited to talk more.
Hello, Caitlin Moran, also on the Global Brand and Consumer Marketing team. Work on all of our cause marketing closely with our social responsibility and community relations teams. Get to work with awesome partners like Everfi, and work on all of the initiatives that show up on field, as well as a lot of the work that we do around all of our causes that aren't necessarily on field, also off field. So excited to be here.
Hey everybody, Rhett Nichols, VP of Global Marketing on Jackie's team. First of all,
It's not you.
I just want to say Tim stole our thunder. He hit on every single point that we were going to hit on. He also showed the two cause spots. We're unaware of that. Out of spite, I just want to show the 2-minute spot. Unfortunately, I may not have a job after that. But no, great to be here and oversee all of our tentpole marketing events, our brand campaigns, and NFL Network. And we work very closely with our partners too, CBS, who's obviously a big part of the Super Bowl this year.
Awesome. Cool, so Rhett, this question is for you. So when planning for the Super Bowl, which as you may know is the biggest event of the year, where do you guys pull inspiration from? How do you guys work to bring that to life?
Great question. I could reference Tim's speech earlier. Look, I think, it's funny, we're just kind of outside talking about how these things sort of shake out, especially on the brand side, and where we start and where we kind of end up. I think what we try to do, and I think we did a really great job with last year's spot, the Dynamics spot that you guys just saw, flag football was a huge initiative for us, and we wanted to try to find something that really kind of spoke to that, certainly from a creative standpoint. And I think this year, what we saw, and I've had the fortunate experience of going over to Europe, being at the Munich game, being at the Frankfurt game in London, seeing that type of fandom internationally, it's something that I can't even quite articulate how interesting and unique and exciting it is. There's a real hunger for football there, and that's exciting. And I think that we wanted to really kind of highlight that element, that this game isn't just domestic anymore, it's global. And that's really exciting as a marketer, and ultimately that's kind of hopefully where we kind of drew inspiration from and brought to life with our spot.
Awesome. So, as you know, NFL games are the most watched live programs in the U.S. So, Samba recently released a state of viewership report where we found that NFL games actually made up of about 68% of the most watched linear programs on TV. Ironically, the top indexing non-sporting programs were ranked high because they followed NFL games. So with that said, there's so much market penetration already. How is the NFL evolving to reach new fans? I think Javier, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think one of the things, just talking about my group that works within the marketing organization, think of us as the special forces of the team, right? We're really looking at the future fan, and we have to look at every aspect of what we have as an arsenal. One of them was our broadcast partners, and we work very closely with the team here to really do what we call all cast. How do we kind of take the broadcast and really innovate against it? One of the key things that we've done on the youth side is we had all cast with Nickelodeon, with Disney, which was very successful, and then on the Latino side, we are actually partnering with Univision and really kind of pushing that agenda to actually get access to this game for everybody in their own unique voice. So that's one of the ways we're doing that.
Awesome. Justin, what about from a social marketing standpoint?
That's a good question. I think there's a couple approaches here. We have what we call our audience retention strategy, our new audience retention strategy. And really, we lean very heavily into TikTok. The algorithm there is so powerful, and it really allows us to reach niche audiences. And Tim talked about the players' helmets off storytelling. And each one of these players has such unique interests and passions and dislikes and likes and pet peeves and so on and so forth that we're able to distill these wonderful stories with them, and then using the algorithm on TikTok, reach these new audiences that we might not normally reach because that algorithm, again, hits those niche audiences. So we're looking very heavily at emerging platforms, like I said, the creator network, which we've developed wonderful partnerships with multiple creators across the TikTok and YouTube space, and we've really been able to generate some powerful relationships that reach brand new audiences that we might not ever reach otherwise.
So we're on social. Can we talk about the Taylor Swift event or impact, or is that?
How much time do we have? Yeah, no, and it's been wonderful. Our social programming team is so strategic and smart with how they've approached it. I think from my perspective, we've all seen, the viewership increases, the jersey sales, and I was just looking at Travis Kelce's Instagram yesterday. He's got like 5-point-something million followers now. He started the season at just over 1 million, like just north of 1 million. So we're talking 4 million increase in the last 6 months. And for us, that kind of goes back to the new audience retention strategy from a social content lens. We want to welcome these new fans, and we're seeing viewership spikes, especially on TikTok, where 50% plus of our viewership is young and female.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing, right? So how do we welcome in these new fans with open arms, embrace them, and kind of get them to stick around? Maybe a huge wave comes in of all these new fans. If we can create a lifelong relationship and interest in the game with even a small percentage, that's a huge win for us. So, I kind of spoke about the player helmets off storytelling. That's a huge part of it, but education is another huge part of it. And I'm not talking about X's and O's, formal football player. I'm talking about a very, very rudimentary education. What does a first down mean? What is a player gets nominated to the Pro Bowl? What does that mean? We actually partnered with Mary Martinez, who some of you might be familiar with. She's a third-grade teacher in Miami, huge Dolphins fan. She's completely transitioned her lesson plan for her third graders through football. So she's teaching math and stats through Tyreek Hill's, his outcome for the season. She's teaching them how to read and write by literally writing letters to students or to players. So we actually partnered with her on a series called NFL Elementary, and she just does such a great job in these diverse and young creators we work with, but highlighting Mary here, she does such a wonderful job of distilling this information in a way that's like, speak to me like I'm a 5-year-old, Michael Scott saying. And even if you're an avid fan, you're still engaged in it, you love to hear it. But as like someone that knows nothing about the game, we welcome you in with open arms, and you're learning a little bit. You're creating a touch point, you're learning more about the game, so therefore, theoretically, hopefully you're more interested in the game. You see Taylor Swift's interest in the game. I'm starting to learn about it because of these different creators we work with. So we have a whole playbook. I don't want to give away too many of our plays, but it's been a huge development this year, and as a result of the luck we've had with Taylor Swift.
So Jackie, Caitlin, what about international reach?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as Tim said, this year's Brand Spot obviously focuses on the international growth of the game and how incredible it is. And I think one of the things we actually tried to do in the lead up of the spot is actually educate fans that this work is ongoing, right? We have a thing called the IPP program, which helps scout players across the world. And so, especially knowing that the focus of this year's Brand Spot is on international growth, we worked very, very closely with our international marketing team and making sure that we were gut checking and making sure that what was going into the spot was accurate, that they thought would resonate with our international fans. And what we've actually tried to do over the last couple of years is really work with our international broadcasters to also show the spot and show our teasers and show this work. It's not something we did, and so it's now sort of an active thing that we get ahead of, and we talk about music license rights, and we talk about all of that in the beginning because that ability to reach our international fan is so important, and obviously a lot of that is done on linear, but a lot of it is also done through Justin and on social. So sort of just to toss it back to Justin, actually, when we do our brand work, especially around the Super Bowl, which I think Tim said, right, more people tune into the Super Bowl than any other game in the regular season, we also want to make sure that the theme of the brand spot is living organically through social first extensions and social first content. And a lot of the percentage of people who follow the league on social are international. So that's just another opportunity for us to engage with our international fan base, which we know is growing. So I don't know, Justin, if you just want to talk about maybe last year's extension, because it was such a great one.
Yeah, no, I mean, the work that this brand team does, especially around the Super Bowl spots with Tim and 72 Sunny, is the creativity, the intention, the campaign and the initiatives that go into it really creates an easy path for me and my team to follow and then essentially pick roses along that path. And by that I mean, we come at it as a two-front approach, and you kind of hit on the first front, and that's a steady drumbeat leading up to the release of the spot. So how are we uplifting our talent? How are we educating our different initiatives? We already mentioned the huge international education and international pathway program education we're doing this year. I think one of my favorite projects was the tiny jerseys. Yeah. If you folks are familiar with the Run With It, no, excuse me.
It was Bring Down the House.
Bring Down the
was
House.
Probably the first campaign where I'd say our team and the social team really just got into a gel and just really sort of one mind melded of, this is what we're going to do from a linear perspective. And then this is how we're going to tap into that younger audience. Yeah, it's incredible. It's fun.
And so what it was basically video game characters come out of a video game, and a great football game takes place within inside the house. It's a chaotic, hilarious, fun spot, and we were working together. How the heck do we promote this? What do we do? And through a giant brainstorm, it was like, hold on, these puppets, these characters, they're wearing tiny jerseys. There's something really inherently funny to that, and we can pick our star players, Peyton Manning, Marshawn Lynch, Deion Sanders, and create really funny pieces with them where they're unboxing their Sunday fit, and they pull out pull out their fit. It's a tiny jersey. And of course, we fed them lines. I think my favorite, Peyton, was like, "Do you mean to send me Eli's size?" So they were hilarious, and they were digestible, they were snackable, they worked great on social, they were highly engaging, and they created this heavy intrigue leading up to, I think, about 2 weeks before the spot and up through Super Bowl Sunday morning, literally a drumbeat, creating awareness. And then we have, of course, a big strategy around the rollout of the campaign, including copy and the way it's packaged and so forth. And the big part of my team's job is then the post, right? It's the second front, and that's our extension. That's how we create a lifeline to these spots, and that can be done through traditional BTS. We always have like a very nicely packaged behind-the-scenes approach to how the spot came to life, how the stunts were done, whatever it might be, interviews with directors, interviews with cast, but then some of my personal favorite stuff, there's also a chance to do the emotional, the funny. And last year, again, this is my team, The Path and the Roses, we just listened and watched from the social lens. And it was in a meeting, and someone just happened to say, Deanna Flores' family doesn't know she's in the Super Bowl spot. to me was like a record scratch. Like, holy crap! Like that's an opportunity right there. So we manufactured a moment. During Super Bowl week, we brought her family out to what they thought was going to be a tour of one of our NFL spaces. It wasn't. We sat them down, revealed the spot to them, and I kid you not, I literally was bawling. It was so raw and powerful when the way her father and her mother reacted to the spot. I had to shield my camera from my tears falling. I've never had to do that before.
I'll just say, I heard Tim and Glenn were shedding some tears in that room as well. So. But we got a little off topic from the international growth, but I did want to make sure Justin had the opportunity to really show off the incredible work that his team does in support of brand and, of course, international this year. And that actually won a great Clio, so our job is a lot easier because we've got Justin and the social team, really extending and supporting the message that we're trying to get across. So this year, with international being the message, and as I said, a lot of people don't know the work we're already doing internationally to grow the sport, whether it's Flag, whether it's NFL Academy, whether it's the International Pathway Program. And so Justin's team, Tony Izetta's team, has been creating content in advance of the spot airing so that hopefully all of our fans on social have been able to sort of watch one of these videos, see one of these graphic carousels. And so by the time that the spot airs during the big game, they can sort of link that back. Oh, I already saw a post about this. And there's a little context, there's a little background, there's a little foundation, and it just makes the linear spot, I think, go that much further. But again, we went on a bit of tangent, so sorry about that.
And I also think like the work that we did around Deanna last year too, it was building up her profile was really important in the lead up, right? So when you're watching the Super Bowl and the spot airs, it's the first time you're seeing this. Sometimes it's the first time you're seeing Diana. But what we tried to do was sort of like build her up. She was at the Popo Games the week before. She's a Flag ambassador. We're talking about her on social, posting clips of her highlights. So it's really important that you're sort of not just putting a spot in the Super Bowl and saying we're done. There's a whole sort of 360 sort of strategy around everything we do.
And I want to add to that. And it starts with leadership, right? Leadership pushing the team here collectively to think differently about the sport. Because I remember the beginning stages of last year's process, right? What are we trying to achieve? And we said, look, we want to go after women. We want to go after Latinos. We want to kind of show the expansion, the inclusivity of the sport. And there was a ton of conversations in making that happen. A lot of ideas that 72 and Sunny came with, and we landed on something really pretty amazing. And it shows kind of the continuity that we're doing this year. But it goes with us working collectively, the growth audience team kind of pushing the agenda of what we need to do, and then we add on to that stuff, to the brand stuff. So we do some stuff. I know from a cost perspective, we want to bring that side of the puzzle too.
Yes, well, so Tim hit on this earlier too, but I was just going to say, I think we're really excited about the spots that you saw. That will be premiering on Sunday, and I think those spots are so important for multiple reasons, and the opportunity that we have with such a big platform, the biggest day really, is, our hope is to unify the fan base, 1, 2, shed a light on the important, super important causes. The 2 spots, about anti-bullying and mental wellness, those are 2 of the top causes that we, in our research have found that fans really want to hear about the NFL and what the NFL is doing. So I think, wanting to dive deeper into that and show, kind of peel the onion, the layers off and show people there's so much work that we do when it relates to cause, and I think there's not a lot, it's important to talk about it and show the resources, like, Character Playbook is at no cost as Unplugged, and for schools across the country. So it's just important for, our fans to not only know the work that we're doing, but also know the resources that are available to, to help these kids, going back to audiences, obviously speaking to the youth and to females, they're super interested in all of this work as well. So we're really excited about it, and, work really closely with Justin's team to showcase also the vulnerability of the players and the willingness of them to talk about these super sensitive subjects, but important ones, and hopefully reach audiences in a different way via social extensions as well.
Also, Nancy? So if you think about it, consumers now have so many different ways in which they can consume live sporting content. Where do you see, I think, the space evolving to with all these different choices?
I mean, I think what's great about the NFL is we're not afraid to take chances. I think we talked a little bit about the simulcast with Toy Story, with the Toy Story Disney Plus piece for the international game earlier this year, which was a huge success story for us. Obviously, the main cast is a different way to watch football games. I think the work that Amazon and Prime Video have done around Thursday Night Football, obviously you can watch the regular sort of linear stream, but they have all casts. They have The Shop, they have Do Perfect. So I think that they're trying different ways to bring in different kinds of audiences in. Some are successful, some maybe don't necessarily work, but I think we're going to continue to kind of see growth in that space, especially trying to hit specific audiences like women, like youth, like Latino. So I do want to say one thing, just kind of separate of this, and Tim or maybe Glenn maybe touched on just very briefly. They talked about, I think they used the word pivot, and I think I've been here for several years, but I've seen over the last couple of years this team, this leadership, and no, I'm not just kissing ass this time. What I think what I've learned over the last couple of years is that we're not afraid to blow something up if it doesn't feel right. As we're starting to put something together, even though we may put months and months and work into it, and energy and resources, and it gets to a point where, wait, is this what we want to do? Is this right? Does this feel right? And sometimes it doesn't, and it takes guts to say, you know what, we need to move off of this. We need to do something different. And I think the example that with Diana that we showed was an example of that. The work that we did on the international side for the brand spot for Super Bowl is an example of that. So it's just one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years, to not be afraid to kind of pull the plug on something.
Awesome. So last question from me. Thinking about it from an advertising perspective, how are you engaging brands to kind of connect with fans on and off the field? So for instance, at Samba TV, we're leveraging AI to detect logos within sporting events and then tie it to measurable outcomes to measure the impact that advertising has. What are you guys doing? How are you working with brands and all that?
Yeah, well, of course, character playbook is one of them, yes. I think Tim also touched on one of our initiatives, my favorite one, My Cause, My Cleats. And I think that's a really good opportunity for us to connect with fans because it spans not just one cause, but really all causes. The players using their platform to kind of shed a light on the cause, but also, bring awareness to it and connecting with different fans depending on what exactly it is. And we've kind of looked to our fan engagement team to help us think of creative ways to interact with fans, like you said, through those graphics and the cleats and the art, kind of leading into the artistic side of it. And that's been really cool, and I think helps us to connect off the field with, youth specifically. Kind of, they're very interested in that graphic, the cool art, the sneaker designs, everything like that has been really helpful. And I think giving them this opportunity to speak about things and using social as a great platform for them to do so leans into that helmets off strategy and helps us connect with them, on it. They'll recognize their cleats on the field. I think Jason Kelsey's little daughter recognized AJ Brown's pink cleats on the field. So connecting with them, by recognizing the cleats, but also then maybe helmets off and the social or something else that they'll be able to connect with the player and then, with the cause from there.
I would like to jump into a little bit of that. I think the exercise of us as brand folks and looking at bringing other brands into the conversation is about value add. Like, what exactly are those brands? Because we care about our fans. We want to make sure that it's pure to what we're trying to do. So I've been in a lot of conversations with these folks on the phone, and we're like, okay, how is that really natural for that person to come in and do something social with this particular brand? How are we thinking about, play football and the activations, and how is that going to give that kid a more unique experience? So those are and even during Super Bowl, as we think about brands that are coming in and working with us during this, how is that going to extend in a natural way, and then also help elevate the conversation that we're having?
Yeah, complimentary and authentic.
I think from the social side, and I can use two examples. We just literally were in Orlando last week for Pro Bowl, but it's finding innovative and cool ways to activate with our social platforms, right? And one of those was we had our first creator row at Pro Bowl where we had a space where we partnered with TikTok and we literally had creators generating one-on-one content with players. And then we also had, a partnership with Rhett there where we had our first ever AMA booth, literally a touch point on the field for players to come over and AMA, ask me anything, answer questions live on Reddit during the game. So for us, it's looking for those innovative ways with our platform partners to continue to press and tell unique stories.
Thank you, everyone.
How are you? Good to see you. Your Deanna Flores Super Bowl surprise for the family in a very innovative way. I don't think you mentioned it was entirely in Spanish. I think this room may want to know a little bit about that because that was incredible. Got millions of hits. It was Emmy nominated. As Jackie said, it won a Clio. But I just want everyone to know this was not in English. So I don't know if you want to just talk about that and the decision to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, this is anytime we work with a player, anytime we work with a creator, we want it to be authentic, right? We want it to be original to them. And again, I mean, I already said this. I cried during it. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but it was so powerful that it moved me. It moved everyone who was in that room. And I think we worked quickly with our NFL Mexico team, Javier, Chapa, et cetera, to translate it all and push it out the Monday or Tuesday after Super Bowl. But really, I think, Ronnie, what you're getting at is it goes back to being strategic and authentic with our different stories that we're telling, especially when it comes to talent, creators, players, et cetera, and the way we tell those stories.
Can I just say I'm going to give Matt props to Jay here because regardless of that, you captured the moment from a content perspective because I teach and I actually showed it to a couple of students recently, to a couple of my classes, and they get emotional with it and they can't even understand it. It's just you captured the feeling, and that's what it's about. That's what we try to do as storytellers. Thank you.